edited Esther.
This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another Communications Committee meeting. We are restarting this one because we started at 6:30 and the agenda says 7, so apologize. It is 12/11/2025, 7 p.m. And this is the call to order. We have one member online, so we'll do a roll call. So just going around the room here, starting with Lou. Just say your name and here.
I'm sorry, Lou Lorraine here.
Mark Sparrow here. Ed Kamau here.
Online, get Allegra
Hi, Allegra.
here, and Chris Martin here.
Okay.
All right, excellent. We will roll into additional items for discussion, topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Is there anything that we have, any emergencies from the last 48 hours? No? Excellent. We'll cruise right through that one. Public comment? No public presence. 3, 2, 1. Move through that section. Approval of minutes, November 24th, 2025.
I move to accept the minutes. Second.
All those in favor?
Roll call.
Yeah, that's right. Roll call.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Mark. Allegra?
Hi.
And I as well. All around. Education training reports from committee members. Anybody do any training?
We did identify some potentials, I believe, right?
I have signed up for the digital accessibility awareness from municipalities happening Wednesday, January 14th, 2026 at 12 p.m.
So
I think, yeah, I think that's a good one. We're getting into accessibility stuff. It's becoming a real thing with on a state level, so state and town level. So I think it's a good idea for everybody to try that. But if you can't make it, you can't make it. That's fine.
and there's one tomorrow on AI policy templates. I'm not sure who's putting that on. It's not an MMA one.
They started it, but they brought in a consultant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's tomorrow at 11.
Yeah.
11.
All right. Anything else? Moving on. AI in Belchertown government. It's all you.
I had a meeting with, Chris, Steve and I had a meeting to go over the proposed agenda we received from the UMass group for a workshop in February. So Chris, the three of us talked about the draft. And I had a meeting yesterday with the 4 professors from that group. And we went over it, and the long and short of this, we came up with a date for February 25th, 9 to noon. It will be here in the auditorium and won't be open to the public. Steve is going to invite all the department heads to have a presence.
Or at least a representative.
Each department to be represented.
Yeah.
Better way to put it, yeah. Each department will be represented. The major committees like select board, finance, school, CPC, to be there for it. It's going to be broken into essentially 3 parts. The first part will be on an overview on AI. What is AI? What can it do, not do? That sort of thing, to raise a level of awareness among everybody. The second part will be a discussion on how AI can help them in their jobs and their departments specifically. And then the third part will be kind of where do we go from here? Tools, resources, action items, that sort of thing. And the reason, one of the reasons we went that way was in informal discussions I've been having with department heads. When I asked them, what do you think AI can do for you? They're like, I have no idea because I'm not sure what AI can do. So that's why we're going to do that first hour on an education awareness session on what AI is. One of the things Chris and I asked Steve was, 3 hours, it's a lot of time for everybody to take out of their day, to pull in every department, all that stuff. He said he's going to make it happen because he feels it's that important that we do this. So which gives it a big boost to do something like that. So, The other part is too, we got the draft AI policy from council. Steve sent that around for review. Lou has reviewed it. Chris and I have not reviewed it yet, but that's where that stands right now.
And
I believe I sent that around to everybody, so we have it, I believe everybody.
you
got it.
sent it out as far as I know.
Yeah, okay.
And so my two comments essentially were under policy, employee responsibility for a written project. It says it's reviewed by a town employee, and it's, once again, in section 4, it says the same thing, reviewed by a town employee. Specifications not given as to what supervisor, somebody with AI training, anything like that wasn't listed. So I feel they need a little more specificity.
Yep.
And then part 2 on policy was compliance with laws and town policies. With none of the laws or town policies listed, really. I mean, the laws certainly not federal, state, town, but this is a policy. So I guess once it's adopted, they will have the policy, but they should also have the laws.
That's all I got on AI.
Any other discussion about that? Anything else?
I just want to remind Chris that in our previous attempt at a meeting, you had an idea about circulating information about this through the newsletter,
Oh,
I think.
yes.
Right? That was this idea, right?
Yeah, I can bring that up as well. It wasn't really a report, but yeah. I was gonna ask if we could put this or something about this in the newsletter. I think it's totally fine. I brought up to Ed to agree. Ed is nodding now. We're both in agreement that it's worth noting in a the communication committee hasn't put its own report into the Carriagetown Chronicle. We haven't said what we're up to.
Oh, okay.
Other than building the Carriagetown Chronicle. So I figured that would be something that I could report on. Is just working together with the pit crew at UMass, which I think would be great news for everybody, and let them know that the town is being proactive about AI, figuring out what to do, and not only just like using it, but going to real professionals and educators on it. So I think that'd be great to put in there.
And just as an aside, one of the things I really love about the state said they were doing with AI is only reviewing original work, not creating original work. So somebody had to write it out and then they let chat or whatever review it. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so I think thank you, Allegra, for reminding me. There's so much we already went over once. All right, any other questions, comments? All right, so then we're gonna move on to creating a digital role in committees. This is one that Kate asked to put onto the agenda, although she wasn't here, or she isn't here today. She asked me to read some stuff about different sections, including this one. So she has 2 questions here, or 2 statements. Has the committee spoken to Steve about this? I know I've had conversations in passing with him about this. However, I think it might be time we, members of the committee and myself, sit with him and hash out the idea more. Obviously, if this meeting has already happened, I want to know what was determined. So we have not had this meeting with Steve. It is something that we have brought up in the committee before. It's something that I've kind of pushed, but it's kind of been a little wishy-washy, and the reasons of do we need to do this, or we're forcing people into having a digital person on the committee. It's certainly there's a chair, vice chair, clerk. Adding in another role adds in layers just complicates things a little bit, adds complexity, and then somebody is going to have to know how to use and know and be responsible for the digital appearance of these different committees.
So what are you seeing as the digital job then?
Yeah, is somebody who's responsible for making sure content on the website is updated,
Okay.
for making sure they know how to use a GoToMeeting properly, and they're there to troubleshoot, or they know at the very least they're the one who has the number to call, like IT, and figure it out, right? And same thing with like social media is, you know, they'd be in charge of making sure that they're the ones strictly responsible for posting online.
And also, and I think this is kind of critical, creating the agendas and the minutes in a format that works best for the town clerk to post, that they are ADA compliant. You know, they're not scans, you know, that sort of thing.
Well, so I'll say that the agenda is a responsibility, or in my understanding is the responsibility of the chair, and the minutes are the responsibility of the clerk. But yeah, it would be on this, like this digital person would come back to them and be like, are you sure you're doing these correctly? Yeah.
Did you get the time right? And all that sort of stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Minor things.
Yeah. So that's how I've always envisioned the role. But I can see how it's like, you know, there's been pushback that like, okay, well, you know, there's some committees in town where like, I think the biggest one I hear is that everybody's too old to even use computers on the committee, therefore, why would they have to find a digital person? And I personally think that's a terrible excuse. But there has been a lot of pushback every time I bring this up to certain groups and organizations in town, so.
To me, it's doing business nowadays.
And yeah, right.
You know,
I'm 80 years old, guys. I know how to use a computer.
Right, like,
You know, that's not a valid argument, I don't think.
Yeah, I have like 3 or 4 different committees that people have mentioned that like they wouldn't be able to do it. I'm like, well, have we tried? Like, if we asked them, have we?
Well, this also could be the committees that have no presence on the website, you know, and nobody has noticed that they have no presence on the website because they're not an active committee. They exist in name only and maybe meet once a year, you know, that sort of stuff. So it could be part of the weeding committees out kind of thing, you know.
Well, I don't wanna get into a discussion, kicking people out of volunteer roles, but yeah.
Part 2.
Yeah, so part 2, I'll move on with this. If a committee is going to have a social media presence, then they need a digital role because their social media posts need to be compliant. This ADA compliance. Training is being offered on compliance and can be offered on an ongoing basis as needed. In the end, not only could the town be liable for compliance issues on social media, but the admins of the page can also be personally liable. And it's no excuse to say you were unaware of the law to get out of being sued.
And I am concerned that we're not going to have anybody to be the watchdog on this. It's just not possible at this time.
Yeah, and I mean, like that I think is, you know, further reason to have somebody trained and aware of these things on every committee, right? You know, the same way that.
But, you know, training doesn't mean perfection.
No. But, you know, like they get there and this is something I brought up earlier and I'll bring it up again. Is that, you know, if you can state at least that you've gone through the training, you are trying your best, maybe one post got through and that's the one you're being sued on, but it's like, you can at least like prove that all the others up to that date were good. And.
Or you were making the same mistake all the time.
Right, like it's, you know, if something got through and it's like, whoops, I'm sorry, like we'll fix it, you know, and you can apologize. You know, and you can sort of, if it gets to court, you can do it there. And a lot of times, from my own experience, from something I saw before, there is some leniency to, like, we've been trying our best to be compliant. We understand that these are the laws and it's required. We made a mistake and we won't make that mistake again. And we'll go through, we'll retrain everybody and we'll do all this stuff. That, I think, goes a long way. And longer than saying like, oh, we haven't trained anyone and they're just volunteers and they don't know any better. And, you know, coming up with those excuses is not going to get you very far.
So down the road, something to think about. Certainly the town employees who are are in communication won't have the time to do extensive training. Is this something the committee would be willing to pick up?
I'd be very reluctant for us to be in that position.
Yeah, that to me is if the trained individuals in town don't have the availability to train people, then there needs to be somebody externally who's
Okay.
professional.
Okay.
Job it is to do that, yeah.
That's beyond our scope, I think.
Just
Yeah.
bringing up a question.
And I know Kate's been going to tons and tons and tons of different training things to make sure that she has this rock solid, and is able to explain it back to everybody in town and really make sure everyone's aware that, this is a thing that's happening.
But as we know, Kate's 19 and a half hours a week.
Yes, very true.
And this is not the only draw on her needs or on her workload.
Right.
Okay, none of that.
Technically, we have to be compliant by April 26, 2027, because we're over 50,000 people, under 50,000 people. But I believe Kate's shooting for 2026 as a compliant state.
Yeah. So I think that I will email Steve, just get the ball rolling, see what he thinks about it. Said it's gonna be a big change if we assign a fourth. I mean, it's probably something that's gonna have to go to the select board, be approved of, sort of rules and things are developed around it. The committee handbook is gonna have to include it, stuff like that. So it's not just like, yes, everybody has to do it now. It could start with like, we ask certain committees, like any committee that has a social media presence, like Kate said, that like, you have to send that person in for training, right? I think that's like an easy first step. But I just keep leaning towards this, like somebody needs to be responsible for.
I feel like that's like the town manager, select board should get involved, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
To start writing a policy that policy should go in front of them.
right.
That's a town manager managing
Yeah, I mean,
job.
it might be one of those things, let us kick it around a little bit
Yeah.
before it goes up to you guys. And we, Chris can talk to Steve and, see if we can have something in hand, so you guys don't have to get into the weeds on it.
Right. Yeah. All right, so we'll do that. All right, so now on to the communication plan. Caught up.
We're caught up.
17 minutes in. So I'll go first with Kate's one statement. I've read the file Chris sent over, and we'll listen to the meeting once posted to become familiar with this conversation so that I can engage in next steps. So last time we discussed the communication plan. Mark brought up that we really should be following the community action plan, and that is a good first step to our to getting some tactical plans and hitting the ground running. The community action plan is a very long document that is split up into multiple documents. It can all be found online in the planning department section of the website. And I said I would just kick it through GPT and see if it could pull out all of the references to all the sections that pertain to communications. I did that. I sent the document to everybody. It is a thorough review. It was, the prompt was just, read, here's 13 PDFs or 12 PDFs on a doc file. Go through, find all the references of communications for the communication committee and give me the page numbers. And it said, well, how would I give you a whole report? And I said, yes. And then it said, how would appendices? And I said, sure. And it gave me all of this stuff to send to you guys. So it took a document that was about 200 pages long and made it about 29 pages long, which is still more than I expected, like 2 to give you guys.
But it's big print. That's big.
But it is big print and it's all bullets,
Yeah.
so it's not so bad. I think, what did I say? The appendix, appendix B is a really good resource of actually action items that we could be doing, and it broke it up into first 6 months, then 6 to 18 months and stuff like that. So send it around. Not sure if everybody was able to read it or not. Are there any thoughts, questions, anything like that?
Sure.
Yes. Great, moving on. Yeah.
So first,
how are we going to select the projects that we would add to the projects that we already have? Who would do that? How would they do it? What criteria would they use and so forth?
Right.
All of those things didn't lend themselves to, to real projects. Many of them did.
Yeah.
And so how are we gonna, pick and choose who's gonna do the work? That's one question.
Yeah.
Second question was oddly, so there was a lot written on our farming culture here, which was a good thing. But we also had about 400 other registered businesses in Belchertown besides farms. Those weren't mentioned in that document, and I wonder, how do we address those? How do we address economic development of that very large group that hasn't been addressed so far?
Yep. So I will take that by taking a step back on this and saying that the document again was a review of everything that was posted in the community action plan.
Yes.
And I believe the reason why it's very agricultural heavy is because that was one of the few documents in all of them that
Yes.
actually took communications into its plan and
Yes.
and
And
was like,
produced
this needs to be, yeah, right, the communications need to be involved. So I think that not only is this a great list of actions and things that we can look at and review, but also a lot of holes within our entire Belchertown community action plan, because communication is not referenced, and at least a handful, and then in the ones that it is, it's very, I can see it, the GPT, it has the little like thinking and like brings up messages, and it was like, on a few of these, it was like, it doesn't mention communications, but I can extract from this statement that communications are needed, therefore I'm including something, right? So that's why there's not a lot of mentioning of other businesses and other things in town in this document, because it wasn't mentioned in the Belchertown Community Action Plan.
Yes.
So, I think the next, and anybody else here?
Yeah, I've got two comments on it. One, okay, so all these documents on the site weren't done at the same time. They've been done over years and then updated over different years. The oldest one, for example, is the Open Space and Recreation Plan from 2009.
Yes.
So a lot of these, a number of these recommendations reference things that have already been done.
Yes.
For example, fix the website.
Yep.
Now, we did that. None of them took into account the fact that we now have a communications manager. So when it says communications committee should do blah, to me, it's a lot of that, if not most of that, should be the responsibility of the communications manager. Now, we all know that Kate doesn't have the bandwidth to do all this sort of stuff. And I'm very uncomfortable with us taking it on as a committee, because to me, that negates the rationale for expanding Kate's position, which I feel it should be. And also, as a committee, do we have the bandwidth to do that sort of stuff? And my feeling is no, we don't,
But if we have a communications plan that we were proposing to the town that they follow, those things would fall under it. But to say the communications manager should be responsible for this,
Not communications.
not the committee, yeah.
Well, she should be the nexus, she should be the focal point for all maintaining this consistent message.
Yes,
And
yeah,
on all the social media forums and newspapers and you got it, okay.
yeah, so everything should be considered for the purpose of the plan.
Mhm.
But I agree with you that, like, there's certain things, I would say the majority of things are not action items for the committee, but for the.
And if I was reading it correctly, there's a lot of policy being written
Yes.
and not a whole lot of work, real honest to God, getting out there and building a wall being done.
Right, I was gonna get to that point, yes, actually, that very point.
Yeah.
So, would you think that we would continue with the tactical plan, developing the tactical plan for these various projects? Do we give that to Kate, somebody else, a consultant? How do we move forward on the tactical one?
Yeah, so I took a crack at just pulled two of them out, that I thought were doable. and easy enough, great examples that we could immediately put into action.
Mhm.
I have the new resident information page that is just a page on the website for new residents. Just to, you moved to town, now what, right? We don't have that reference, or we don't have that resource rather, on the website. So I put together a quick action plan and I admit with that one too, like I didn't know timing and stuff like that. So a lot of the action items I put into GPT and was like, how long do you think this would take? And it was 7 days, 10 days, fine, great. It's sort of draft stuff, but it makes sense. It's all quick. It's a website. It's actionable. The other one I put in is the, and Allegra, I can send you copies of these, the digital and print mapping system. There was this one was actually a bit more robust, but it was one of the action items that they said that we should have references or a map to all of the trails, conservation lands, recreation facilities, safe walking and biking routes. And I believe when you actually get into the finer details in both the open space and recreation document and the age and dimension friendly document, it even mentions going as granular as listing out all of the park benches and stuff. So that anybody with, for anybody of certain ages and stuff like that, well, okay, it's a walking trail, but are there places that I can rest along the way?
The ADA trails have to have an X amount, every X feet.
Right, and it's probably a good way for the town to realize whether they are or not compliant with that kind of stuff.
That came up actually on Tuesday in a meeting we had with Trail Grants.
So,
It's funny that you bring it up, yes, so, it's a good recommendation that, this whole topic came up about mapping our trails and figuring out, like you pull into Jabbage Brook, for example, the conservation land, like where does the trail go, how does it go? We should have a scannable app somehow that you can then track and know how the trail grows, Scarborough area, Kessel Trust. So I think conservation was looking into Kessel Trust, how to do the wayfinding stuff and some of that stuff. So conservation was gonna look into some, we don't have a conservation manager, we have an assistant who was looking into it until our conservation person's hired. So it is a task the town is looking into and applying for grants and that kind of stuff.
I think it'd be really great if we get somebody who was an expert in ArcGIS mapping.
Yeah.
I mean, that would go.
That came up too, because we have a GPS skit, we have a GPS thing I just found out about, they mapped it at one point, so you're hitting the.
I mean, we have a couple of ArcGIS accounts now.
Yeah.
Conservation is one of them. And I know, because I was trying to do some ArcGIS stuff with the town. And I know enough to be really dangerous with it. It's a very complex, it's a very complex program.
It is difficult.
And Steve and I were talking about, and Jen Turner was there, another select board member, Kyle was there, Doug was there, Doug out of town. So we're talking about walking the trails too. The weather's nice. I'm trying to look at some of the stuff so we can get a better.
Right.
So.
It's actually, it's our.
So yeah, this is a great.
So
Great idea.
once this is all done, how do we integrate it to, so it's not just there in the conservation office?
Right, so that is the part where communications comes in that okay, they've mapped it out, now what, right? So how can we make that available and usable online? How can we make sure that it's being dispersed to the rec department printed, and then it's actual maps for different locations? It's a great opportunity for our committee or the communications manager, either one, to get involved with that and to put out an action plan for it's built, now what? How do we distribute it?
Get the information universal.
Right,
As far as
exactly.
universal as it can be, if you want to look for it, you can find it.
And that may be the sort of thing, I think, maybe this thinking too pie in the sky, doing a regionalization effort on that. I mean.
We talked about that too, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't want to get too far into the weeds
Yeah.
on that project. I think it's a great example. That's why I pulled it out. It's like, well, this could be something great for us. We're a very outdoorsy town. And it's a great way to incorporate the rec department, the planning department, the senior center and stuff like that. But exactly, but is that what is our determination for making sure that's in the communication plan and who's going to be responsible and stuff like that? That's the question that we really got to solve here.
I mean,
It would be
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it'd be neat if we had an app for all of our outdoor recreational spaces in town, like a standalone thing for just
Which
getting
you can
around
create-
Belchertown.
You can create with ArcGIS. It'll allow you to create that sort of stuff. You
Yeah,
know,
that'd be a cool project.
that's the real, that's kind of like the central nexus once you, and a lot of this information actually exists already. For example, I was trying to map conservation lands here in town. That information exists at state level. The state has created all this stuff.
And
What it takes,
they have paper maps in that office, in the Concom office.
yeah, but it's an open space plan is what it is. So it includes a lot of,
Okay,
like golf courses.
okay.
You know, it's things like that. So what it takes, and that's what I was trying to do was, okay, this stuff exists. Can we just create our own map of just Belchertown Crescent? And I couldn't figure it out. It was beyond me. But the thing is, yeah,
So it can be done,
it definitely could be done.
and I've done it. And so you can use both state conservation areas and local town-based conservation areas. You can show both on a map.
Yep.
So, but again, it's helpful to know GIS. It's not absolutely necessary, but it's helpful.
So I would hope that these things would be layered, so you're not, the information isn't so dense you can't find what you're looking for.
Well, it is layered, but under the conservation category, there's 20 main categories and then of course subcategories.
So
So you
again,
have to kind of know what you're doing.
I want to pull us out of the weeds of that project too, but, yeah, so like I said, I was able to get this document, I was able to create a couple tactical plans for that. You are right, there are more communication needs. And I think part of our task now is identifying those other needs or even the lack thereof. That like part of our communication plan is that we also need to understand the holes within our community plan as far as communication goes. How do we reach local businesses? How do we reach stuff like that? So I think that is an important part of it as well.
So how big is Kate's department going to be?
Well, some of the recommendations of the communication plan doesn't have to be for us to do, right? Like,
And we're gonna have
maybe
to triage. We're gonna have to triage.
this is for the town. We're putting this up to the town. We're saying this is our recommendation to the town. Some of that can be, hey, what did you say? Open space hasn't updated since 2009. Great. Step one, they have to update theirs and include communication in it, right? Like that's an action item, right? That is a good point to put into a communication plan.
Who would make the recommendation as to who's responsible for these projects?
I think we would, right? That's our part of this is to recommend via the communication plan, presented to the select board. Select board approves and says, yeah, these are some great points. Let's put it to work. And then I think it's on, I would assume, the town manager.
Would
So
manage
that-
the day-to-day operation. He would maybe set a priority, like, these are, with your recommendation, let's tackle these three or move on from there.
Yeah.
And you work off the list from there.
Right, yeah. And the idea being it is a living document, so we can add things to it later on and run those past the town manager. And again, he'll probably decide what should happen next, but with our recommendations for communication.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So getting back to my original question, which was, how do we abstract from the outline document, right? And fill in where we don't have the projects listed?
Yeah, I think that's where we have to get creative, right? I think that's, or like I said, where we have to, I think that goes back to what I just said of we don't know because this group that's responsible for this portion of town hasn't considered anything yet. And I think we can maybe, if there's anybody on this committee that has recommendations for specific groups, like if, Ed has an idea for the open spaces that we think that definitely needs to be done sooner than later, then we recommend that as a committee. We vote on it, we say, yes, that belongs in there, put it in there. and please, anybody object to anything I'm saying, I don't want to be the one that's,
No, I'm just saying that if you're gonna talk to a committee, maybe you should have an informal conversation with the committee chair before we make a formal recommendation. They may not be in the position to do what we're gonna recommend.
Well, I actually think before that, we should take the document that Chris created,
Hmm.
given that it's referencing a number of things that have already been done or are in the works, and update what you wrote with more current, because again, it's relying on plans from 2009,
Yes.
stuff like that, that all preceded a lot of the work we're doing now and Kate's insistence.
Hmm.
So I think the
there's
first
thing on the
step,
branding we can remove and things like
the
that.
first step is to go through this document and update it to what is
Oh, okay.
happening today, you know? Because it says, yeah, you should do this.
So you fed the information that you had and it's updated, got it?
Right, because it was relying on plans from 2009,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Is there a way to link like a lot of the town plans into this document somehow in the future? Like, so like the hazard mitigation plan is gonna be finalized soon, the master plan, I'm just throwing all these. Is there a way to like, so
Like
like today's
to update-
world, update it by itself? Can you tell it like, here's the plan, like?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so, that like,
I'm just
oh, we have
curious.
we have a revised plan for this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all an AI thread, right? So
Yeah.
it has all the information and the memory, so you just throw it in
That's
there and
awesome.
say, hey, this has been updated, can you reconsider that with the document that you've made?
That'd be nice to see all those plans, I guess, somewhere to see everything in one stop, so everyone knows that there's a master plan, there's a communication plan, as we list all these plans, right?
Right.
Because a lot of people don't
Ultimately,
understand.
what we could do is turn this into a webpage.
Yeah,
That would
that-
link to all
That's
these.
what I was, that would be awesome. Sorry, that's my 2 cents.
No,
I think it's
no, that's
awesome.
fine.
This is all awesome stuff, so.
Yeah, it'd be great to have searchable too, that like you can search for the word communication and it'll bring up all the references
Yeah.
of communication through every single document. But yeah, so I think, great point, I think definitely go through, this document, update it, there's a lot of stuff that, like you said, has already been done. For adding things to it, if there are immediate things that we know of, bring it, let's come with a list. Everybody has a list of anything they wanna add to it, action points, then we decide as a committee what is being added, what isn't being added. I think that there, part of the review should be like, what is missing stuff? Who should go back to the drawing board and rethink their document, their portion of the community action plan with communications in mind, right? I think that's fair to say that like certain departments have to go back and be like, well, what do you think about communications? Have you talked to the communication committee or the manager? Do you have an idea for this? If not, then maybe let's get some ideas from them or get in the room with them. And I think that that's fair to put that in the communication plan, that like, these groups need to start talking. I think
And there's probably things we missed too. For example, I don't think EDIC is in.
That was my next.
I didn't see any reference on EDIC.
well, again, they weren't in the
Yeah.
community action plan, right?
Yeah.
So
And-
like,
And what brought that to mind was you'd mentioned, they are talking to Kate, my understanding. They had Kate attend one of their meetings to talk about communication, That's one of the things they're getting beaten up on a regular basis. So they realized that they needed to improve that.
Yeah.
And kudos to them,
Yeah, in my eye, my perfect vision is every committee should be somewhere communicating somewhere.
Right.
Like fair committee, finance committee, so people know in town can have a one-stop shop and kind of figure out that stuff.
I mean, I'll throw it out there, that's a operations hole right there, right? Like, why aren't committees talking to each other? Why aren't we communicating with each other, right? Is that on the town manager or the select board or somebody else? Like, that like these groups should have a regular gathering and discussions about stuff.
Committee of the committees.
A committee of the committees,
Yeah.
right?
We
Chris
talked,
is talking.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I've.
it's on it's on our thing, we've been just throwing it out there, kind of like, even like them coming before the select board at least once a year to get the whole committee, so like, everyone would have a chance to come and say, tell us about yourself, what are you working on, what's your plan for this year?
Right.
We'd have to stagger them, obviously,
Yeah.
as we get through, there's a lot of stuff, but that's our goal, is to get that stuff moving forward, well, at least one of my goals.
I mean, when we're rebuilding the website, we tried to pull together a list of every committee, every chair,
Yeah.
contact point.
Yeah.
And it didn't exist,
Yeah.
And we're probably one of the few committees that has talked to every committee because of that, reached out.
Even Allegra has the Carriagetown Chronicle. She has a full list of like everybody that we should be reaching out to make sure that they're involved in the Chronicle. And even that list is incomplete as of last night. Or this morning we were looking at it, and it was like there's still a few committees that we have no idea who to contact in that list. So and we've gone to like the clerk and people to like, who are these, who runs this? Like, oh, so and so, what's their email address? No idea, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's actually gonna be on our agenda on Monday to talk about committees and stuff like that moving forward.
Great.
So, because we have a lot of vacancies in town, we have the same people working on the same committees, how do we work on that for the town that makes everyone feel benefited?
But you're not allowed to join a committee until you're 55 or 60.
So we gotta work on that.
See you later.
We have to make it inviting. Why aren't people volunteering? Why aren't people?
80. So one of the things that also wasn't mentioned, I don't know, is school as part of this town-wide unified message. Are they a totally separate entity?
Pretty much.
My understanding, and this is just from the lowly communication chair, that the school is in their entire own category of things, that they are totally different.
And we can use that,
Except, I talked with Kate about this, I guarantee you, when it comes to ADA compliance, the state government and federal government are not going to care that we treat them as a separate entity. They are going to say, I'm sorry, that is your town school, that site has to be compliant.
But the unified town-wide message, not necessarily so.
Yeah, it doesn't fall under the town though, in a sense, because they have their own board, elected officials, their own DESI policies, so the town wouldn't be, it's like their own government, that makes sense.
Right.
So with the town, in a sense, is responsible, but not responsible at the same time. We can't tell them what to do.
Understood, I just wanted to bring it up.
No, I mean, that's a great idea, because if Pathfinder starts coming into our town and next year, that's something we should think about with the chronics and getting them involved and getting their, getting that message out.
Absolutely.
What they can offer the town and the townspeople and.
I mean, it would only benefit the schools because, as we saw with the 2.5 override, they got the crap beaten out of them because of the poor messaging and all that sort of stuff that they did. And,
You mean on the school?
yeah.
Okay.
And I met with them this week, report in a few minutes. But when I met with the school committee, they were all on board with being transparent. And, it's a new sheriff in town on the school committee. And Heidi's just like, now we want to be transparent out there and open and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, if you notice, for example, all of a sudden, a ton of school committee minutes showed up on the town website in one fell swoop. They hadn't been posting anything up there. And all of a sudden, about a dozen of them showed up.
Okay.
So, action items. I think it's fair for everybody to go through this document. Send me any notes that you have about it. The document itself references the PDF page number, so that there is a distinction. The document, so it might not be page 110 of the document, but it's page 110 of the PDF. You know what I'm saying? That if like the document starts with like 3 pages before page 1, that means that the page number of the PDF will be 3 off. But it references all the pages where you can go in, you can read the specific lines and page.
It says PDF 7, PDF.
It does the transportation plan, PDF page 108 to 109 is where I'm looking right now, and the OSR plan PDF page 85. So you can go in there, read the exact lines that they're talking about, get an idea for what is in the action plan. Send me notes about this document, about what stuff can be removed, what's already been done, already being handled, and send me thoughts on stuff that's not involved in it and not there. And we'll come up with some, I'll come up with some more tactical plans. Also, if you have the original document, I've rebuilt that. That is not your.
Oh, sorry.
I know, it's okay. I remember now, because I emailed them and I was like, that's fine, I don't wanna bother him, but I'm gonna bring it up to you, if you could send me the original, so I can just quickly edit those. Yeah. It's convincing though, right? It looks good.
I was gonna say that, nice job.
Right colors and everything.
So, yeah, so send me all that stuff and I will compile more and we'll, I don't know, should we just have a whole bunch of tactical plans and then we decide as a committee, we vote on the ones to keep or to have discussions on which ones to keep and which ones to remove? And just have them in the, or is that too much? Are we getting too granular at that
Or
point?
I'm wondering, would that be Kate's role? We present these to her and Kate's the one that makes with our input, but
Yeah.
that's her
That's
responsibility.
fair, yeah.
It came for somebody else because how would we know how to write a tactical plan for some of these projects? Just beyond our scope.
Yeah.
So, you
And
know,
plus too, she may say, oh, this is already in the works,
sure,
you know.
sure.
Well, then
This
maybe we'll create
happens.
something more like this document where it's bullet points and lists, and this is what needs to be
Sure.
done, this is why we think it needs to be done, and
Yeah.
it reaches this part of the community action plan, or it's not included in the community action plan. But we think it's, you know, it needs to be, I think that's, yeah. So send me that stuff and I'll work on this.
Can we create this as a Google Doc or
Yes.
that
Isn't it?
honest debate?
Oh,
If we all agree.
if we're, yeah, so if we're all editing a Google Doc, that counts technically as debating outside of a meeting. So it needs to be,
Singular email.
I sent you all, I think I sent you all a PDF, I can send you the Word doc,
Yeah, that would
and
help.
that way you can edit it freely, and have all the fonts and everything.
But not reply all.
Do not reply all, correct. Yeah. I'll send it to everybody, even Esther and Kate, that way, and you as well.
Yeah, I would send, I mean, it's a good time to send to all the select board, just so they can get a quick oversight, so we're not going back and, at least they can see a little quick overview if you're okay with it.
Well, this is, I mean,
We
this
can't
is
discuss-
the version we wanna remove stuff from first.
I think it'd just be a good, just
This is where-
snapshot,
Okay.
just to kind of say, hey, we're working on this. Give us your thoughts.
I
Don't
can
let them
write
edit it.
up, I can write up that email, yeah.
If that makes sense, so we're not going back and forth once we might get somewhere and be like, oh crap, somebody has some other idea or something. It's just feedback.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the wind about updating all the community plans? I mean, I know the decision was made to not do them wholesale.
One of them was just voted on, Doug's plan, was it subdivision plan was updated, hazardous mitigation plan is getting finalized. So they're in their cycles of, but it's time, money and time. But yes, we're,
Well, and some of these are big nuts to chew, if you were really require a whole lot of time to redo.
and by the time we get them all through this, even like hazard mitigation plan, for example, we've been working on this for 2 years. By the time we get it finalized, it's good for 3 or 4 years. You'll be working on it, they're not, that's the problem, by the time they're outdated.
I mean, like open
Really
space,
good, yeah.
open space is 2009, so it hasn't been revisited at all.
I will bring that up though.
Would that be Concom? Is that conservation? Who does open space?
I believe that'd be pretty much theirs, wouldn't it?
Conservation and probably some, right?
Planning board,
Maybe some,
Could
probably
possibly,
all of them.
but I mean, Concom's in transition is what I heard,
Yes.
yeah, so they're not, you know.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? We're all good to go? Letter check with you online? Okay, enhanced town warrant.
Okay, I met with Steve and Melissa on Monday to talk about this. Steve is very much behind the idea. And in a nutshell, the idea is to have a packet that will go out to the townspeople 2 weeks before annual town meeting. That'll include not only the warrant article, but the layperson's explanation of what it's about, you know, and also how the various committees voted on it. The relevant committees voted on it. So,
And current cost or current money.
if possible, we may not do that this time,
Okay,
just because of all the moving parts that have to come together.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to bite off more than we can chew, this time around. All of what I'm proposing is not new work, it's all being done anyways. What we have to come up with is a timeline for all this stuff to happen. Now, I've met with all the relevant players, finance, school committee, Jill and treasurer, Doug Albertson, Terry, probably leaving somebody out.
CPC,
I have not been able to get hold of CPC.
Jim Naylor,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
This is their busy time, CPC is busy time.
But, and everybody's on board. They love the idea. They think it's great. Now the devil's in the details, actually making it happen. So kind of the solution we came up with, and I'm just pulling rough dates out of the air. If we say that annual town meetings on May 15th, then we want to have the packet out May 1 to the public, okay? Backing it up more, Melissa needs a week to pull it together. So
Wow,
I'm pulling dates out of the air,
wow.
okay?
No, I mean, that's great.
So,
Oh, it's not, maybe not a real date.
no, it's not. I'm just-
Thank you, okay, all right, okay.
So she needs a week to pull it together. So that means information has to be to her 3 weeks before annual town meeting, probably more. So that means that, like, for example, finance has to say, okay, well, we have to have our stuff done by this date.
Mhm.
So Jill knows that she needs to get information to them by this date and all this sort of stuff. Everybody feels it's doable. Okay, again, devil's in the details. And we recognize too, that being the first year, it isn't all gonna work right, getting all this stuff together as much as we can. Ideally too, we'd like to have the motions in that packet, but nobody feels that's a realistic idea, because that always comes down to the 11th hour.
Yep.
The night before town meeting, we're getting motions from council, that sort of stuff. So for the first year, we're gonna slim it down a little bit, try it out, and see how it works.
Well, I think the warrant and the layman explanation goes a long way.
Well, that's,
And the finance is gonna go a long way. That's the biggest complaint, is that we don't have the actual financial numbers down with enough time for people to really understand what's happening.
so Steve's gonna send an email out, I sent him a draft today. He's gonna send an email out to department heads, committees, variety of people, saying this is what we're doing this year. And then we're gonna follow up with more detailed, Melissa and Steve and I have to sit down and say, okay, what are those dates? We have to put dates in the sand, that, this is where we're gonna be doing all this sort of stuff. And see how it goes. I think it'd be really.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think it'd be great in terms of what everybody has said without me asking them, is they love it because of the transparency. And finance and school committee both brought that up, because they got beaten up so badly on 2.5. They said, we love this because of the transparency and getting information.
Out of work, thank you.
My question, this was the other thing that I wanted to add to the Carrollton Chronicles report. Do we think this one, the idea that like we are working on getting more information into the annual town meeting packets and getting those out earlier, that we cannot promise anything, but we have a lot of the committees on board already, a lot of committees and departments on board. I'd like to just say that much.
Let's wait a month, maybe February.
Okay.
Let's wait till February.
Okay.
I'd hate to overpromise and.
I know, that's why I wanted to ask you to get your sense of that
Let's
before
give it a little
Yeah.
more time, yeah.
I mean, like anybody who watches our meetings will know that this is the thing that,
Well, those two people, yeah.
right.
The boards.
Yeah, okay. Any questions for Ed on that?
Good job.
Thank you.
Gateway sign, should be signage, big sign, nothing,
Kate is intending to send to the contractor who's doing the signage for the town a request for an estimate. She said she would do it. I provided her with some statistics concerning the sign, and that's where we are at the moment.
Right.
So I'm just waiting for Kate to do it.
remember, I do have a message from
We
her.
gave her some you gave her some dimensions.
I did.
So that she has an idea of what to look for.
Setbacks and so forth.
Yeah.
Not much extra add here,
Are we on branding?
the
No.
gateway signage, I have what I need from Mark, and I'm waiting on other municipalities and vendors.
I actually have something for you on this too, not from Kate, but my thought, and again, I heard about this from your last meeting, is if you guys reach out to like maybe Pathfinder, like the machine shop and CAD, and those guys could possibly design a sign and maybe do it cheaper. I don't know what you're looking for. I was trying to throw an idea out there to bring Pathfinder on board. It might be bring the cost way down. You know, the students build these signs. They have a CNC machine there now. I don't know. It's just something to think about. They can even do a design. So just something for your thought to keep this project alive.
For
Do you have
unchair,
a contact,
what's a C,
contact there?
You can email Mr. Duda or ask him.
what's a CNC machine?
CNC machine, it's just
Automatic.
it's automatic.
Cut whatever material.
Yeah,
you put
it'll
in.
make the sign whatever you want. I mean, or carpentry can make wood ones. I don't know. It's just an idea to throw out there to try to get these signs.
The other thing too is prison industries. You know,
Hmm.
they'll make stuff up like this too. We want to go that
And
route.
the cost can go extremely down.
Yeah.
Good suggestion, yeah. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Branding committee, we haven't had a meeting forever. I don't know why. Kate says, emailed me the latest she knew about this today. Trying to just remember the email. I don't want to read all of it because it's a huge thread involving Nate Shattuck, the chair of the committee, and Terry and Steve and everything. But essentially comes down to the cost, and we don't have immediate funds to pay for a designer to take care of the town seal. Like the logo, everything. The logo is all done. That's been done for a while. The town website has been updated with the logo and the colors and everything like that. You know, you don't notice them because we picked a lot of the same stuff. The town business cards is like the next driving thing that we want to have, like real business cards for everybody in town. Most people just print business cards out for themselves on paper. And that's the best we have for a lot of folks. So we wanted to make some, but we wanted to do a design that not only had the logo, but incorporated the seal. And because we don't have a real proper digital design of the seal, we can't move forward with that. So we're still left with a lot of people who don't have these cards.
Okay.
That's sort of like the current driving force with it. But yeah, so there's essentially no money to get it done right now. So we're gonna have to wait until funds free up to get, I think it was like a $5,000 to have this
Speaking of
done.
the tailings at the end of the fiscal year or?
Something, I don't know, it's
Okay.
sort of in Terry's hands right now.
Okay.
And again, our committee hasn't met about it for a while. But even the last time we did, it was like, all right, well, let's see where we can find the money, and it was kind of on the clerk's office to figure that out,
Okay.
so. That's where we're at.
Yeah, she's been looking into it. Money is the biggest thing. She's out, she has a couple quotes. We just gotta try to find money. We're in budget talks actually starting next week, so that's a good sign. We don't know the governor's budget yet, so that's always the drawback. But we're starting early, hopefully to help offset a lot of this stuff.
Okay. Any questions on that one? Otherwise we move on. Keep moving. All right, we're just about at 8 o'clock. Town newsletter. Hey, let me see real quick if Kate's got something. Yes. No, she put the wrong. No, you have the wrong. You go from 9 to 18, and then to 10.
Oh, I see, then 10 on the other side,
So
yeah.
when I created, that's kind of weird.
It should be underneath,
Okay.
it should be under 7 PM, shouldn't it?
Don't ever ask me to do this again.
Apparently I can't. If I end up in the emergency room again, I'm contacting Allegra, she'll write it up. Okay,
I
so
thought
Kate,
I was so damn efficient, you know?
Kate doesn't have anything to say about this, so it is on us. Allegra, do you wanna kick it off?
Sure. Yeah, so Chris and I actually met earlier today to work through a few newsletter ideas and stuff. And so everything continues to go well with the newsletter. If you looked at last month's, I think it was probably one of our longest ones. There are a ton of people who submitted, including the Finance Committee for the first time. They introduced themselves in the newsletter, which was great. And basically, I thought today I wanted to kind of report back to Mark, who I have been having. Mark, you've been giving us great feedback about thinking about the mission of the newsletter and how we think and communicate what it does. Um, and one of the things that Mark has brought up before is, think encouraging the idea of how we really try to get more of the substantive updates on things that are happening in town. And so Chris and I were talking about this earlier, and I think we're all kind of on the same page that it's not our role to, write those things up ourselves, but really to reach out to the bodies in town that have updates to share about various projects. And actually, about a couple weeks ago, we occasionally get feedback from subscribers. Positive stuff. Recently, somebody asked if there might be updates about the state school development. And so today, actually, I did reach out to Cheryl at EDIC to just let her know. I think Chris, you would have seen that email. I copied the newsletter account. But I had reached out to somebody in the spring at EDIC, but I believe that person is no longer on the committee. So anyway, so I reached out to Cheryl to give her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the new chair, yeah.
And Kate, I know Kate had talked to Cheryl, so she had given me her contact. So that's just one place to start. But just, gave her the heads up about the newsletter and told her she can look at, what we've, the archive to see how people are sharing things, and that we're sure that people would be interested in any information they want to share through the newsletter. And yeah, Chris and I were also just talking about, Mark, you had some ideas about like the idea that we kind of have, I guess we couldn't come up with the term for it before, but you mentioned like kind of like a banner that says like, these are the sorts of topics we communicate. We communicate on issues of economic development in town, or governments, municipal personnel. And I think that might be something we think about in the future, like kind of signposting, maybe also in the future, like splitting up the sections of the newsletter into different headings where we say all the sort of economic development finance updates are in this section, and that'll give readers a sense of like all the the wide range of issues covered in town. And then the other small thing I wanted to bring up that Mark again pointed out that I thought was smart and I hadn't thought of yet is, Mark, you asked cleverly if how one like if you're on the town website, how do you figure out about the town newsletter? And right at the beginning when we launched it, we had a banner on the homepage, but that was not meant to stay there forever and it went away. But currently there's really no way to find it unless you know where to navigate to the communications page and then the newsletter subpage. So I think there might be a way for us, Chris, and the rest of the committee, I was wondering your ideas, a way to put it on the homepage somewhere, not in like a loud way that it takes up a lot of space, but just as another resource on the homepage.
Great.
Well, I think a good place for that would be under how do I,
Yeah.
have something there. And I think one thing that's lacking from that page too, because I keep asking Kate, I got an event to submit, how do I do it? Because I keep losing that link. That'd be another great thing to have on the how do I page, submitting an event sort of thing. I think that'd be a good place to start. Yeah.
I agree.
For the minutes each month, would it be possible to include stats on how many subscribers you got, open rate, that sort of stuff? Can you just include that in the minutes?
I don't know if I can include things in the minutes that we don't talk about, but I can certainly bring them to the meetings that we have and then include them in the minutes. But right now I think we have 501 subscribers. Oh, I also wanted to mention, because we clarified this with Kate recently, because I'm not on Facebook, so I don't really know exactly all the things that get posted through the town. I kind of look, but I never see the full profile. because I'm never logged in. But I had asked her about using the town Facebook account to note that like a new issue is out. And apparently every month she's been sending 2 posts out, one a few days before the newsletter goes out saying the newsletter is about to go out soon. If you're not subscribed yet, you can sign up here. And then after it comes out, I think she links to like the page where you can see it, and then also encouraging people to sign up. So that trickles in a few more subscribers every month. And then the open rate is consistently like 75 to 80%. So it's pretty high engagement. And there's also like, yeah, it seems like people go back to it too, multiple opens and stuff like that. So from what we can tell, it looks like it's pretty successfully used and read.
Okay, so now you can include the stats in this month's minutes.
I will.
Because we discussed
I will.
it.
I have them right here, actually. In the last 30 days, we have increased by 26 subscribers. That is a 5% increase. We have a total subscriber count currently of 496 and 5 people who have unsubscribed.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Can we do like a QR code and like posters in the doors and town clerk office, senior center?
Good, yeah.
Is that something you guys thought about or
That's
started out there? Bring one out of like Pine Valley and put it in there,
Yeah,
Okay.
I think,
the newspaper.
just somewhere like the day rooms and all that stuff. Because there's a lot of traffic, especially I think the senior center is gonna have 96 people there for their annual holiday. So it'd be nice if they can just scan it or just something.
that's a good,
Yeah.
But they don't
We
use
do-
computers.
That's where the majority of our population is over 40.
we did create like quarter flyers, and so they're probably phrased in such a way as if the newsletter just launched, but we can edit them and put little posters up around town at events. I think it might be good actually for me to like maybe bring some flyers to the meeting and spread out among you folks to bring to places, because I think it's just like reaching those places. I might not get
You
them.
send me, if I can print them out, I'm
Okay.
happy to go drop them off right.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I do have some additional stats I can throw at us just because Ed wants them. So it breaks it down by most engaged, somewhat engaged, least engaged, and everyone else. 347 fall in the most engaged, which is 70% of our subscribers. So 70% of the people we send to will open and read and be engaged in the email. And this is not just the last one, but regularly. 69 individuals are somewhat engaged. That's 14%. These are people who will probably missed an article or missed an email or two. Least engaged, 5% with 27 people, and then it looks like there are about 53 people who have not. Oh, those are people who have not enough data to measure engagement. So those 27 people are the people that like are signed up that haven't opened it.
Mhm.
So 70% open rate is astounding.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. I work in a professional space and we're at like 43%, and that's we're like, okay, we're doing our job, but like not great. So 70% is great.
Allegra.
Hmm.
I just wanted to know, my wife was all over me about how to subscribe to this newsletter. So please help me out.
Okay. Yeah, so we do have like there's the belchertown.org/newsletter page of the website. There's a sign up there. I could send you that link, but I actually thought you were kind of asking because you're like getting me to realize it's missing. But
Oh, it's my wife.
great. We will get her signed up.
Okay.
Using that personal power and knowledge.
Okay. Moving on to belchertown.org. There's got to be an update from Kate on this one. No, there isn't. But I know Belchertown.org now has the updates. Finally, it has the new town logo in it. The colors have been changed, things like that. So we should be good there.
Chris, just a little thing on that.
Yeah.
Can you make the name Belchertown larger? So on my screen, it was really tiny.
I mean, the little town logo, the little.
Yeah,
Yeah,
little town logo.
Yeah, so if Kate was here, she would also complain that they finally made the updates, but not to what was approved by Kate. So in the months of back and forth, or really just her emailing them and being like, what's the status, what's the status, what's the status, and then not saying anything, then she finally went to their manager. They got something together. I agree. There's multiple things that I pointed out that I'm like, this doesn't look right, and this doesn't look right. And Kate was like, yep. We're going back to them. We're saying, listen, you didn't do this correctly. So that's a thing. Yeah. Yes, thank you. But any of those items, any of those things you notice, Kate, let her know. I'm sure she'd be happy to make a bigger list to send back to Civic Plus. Yeah. Let's see, there's one other thing. No. Okay. So moving on then from Belchertown.org. Wayfinding Committee. I think we were gonna pull this because it's done, right? Or it's
Yeah. Once again, the signs are out there waiting to be funded and
Yeah.
placed.
Yeah, I won't put it on next month.
You won't put anything on there. Okay. BCTV manager update. Esther, how we doing?
Hi. Okay, let me grab my list here. So Winter Nightlight happened. That was great. We did speakers. And we're thinking next year, it got dark really fast and they don't have any lighting. So next year we might help with lighting. There's a recap video. Peggy Lou's is up on YouTube to watch. We've got the school committee. We've moved their equipment to HD, which I'm psyched about. It's been a little bit of a project Lou and I have been working on for some weeks. There have been some issues, but it's going up well. That was live on Facebook and YouTube this past week, and got some engagement. There's a lot of people are watching the finance committee, the select board, and school committee right now, working together. There's another tri-board meeting on Tuesday that we'll have in the auditorium that I'm feeling pretty good about the equipment for. We've got this last Monday, we went to the Alliance for Community Media organization. I went to their conference last spring, which is one of the best things I did this year. Got a lot of information from other stations across the country, what's going on. So the Northeast region had a one-day conference in Northampton this week that I went to, and Charlotte was interested in going, so we brought Charlotte too. There's workshops we went to, and importantly, policy update on our funding. One sec. Okay. There is a bill that has just been passed on to the Ways and Means Committee in Massachusetts called the Act to Modernize Funding for Community Media Programming, which this one is about adding a similar fee to streaming that we've always had for cable. And I was surprised to learn they think it's going to pass. Our rep is signed on for it, and that would do a 5% charge from the profits of the streaming companies that would go to our budget, which is significant. A lot of what I think about on the regular is how we're going to keep going with our funding with cable cutting, and that would be a very big deal. So I am thinking about, Jonathan, I'm psyched that you're here at this meeting. A lot of stations are going to their local select boards to have them pass resolutions of support for it. I don't know how that works, how we would do that, but thinking of that.
That's a great personal resolutions.
Um,
He's a template and everything.
I mean, if you want, I'll help you write one up, but yeah, just write something up and give it to John and,
You can come before the board.
yeah.
Okay.
Are you also the BCTV rep?
Oh,
Yeah,
and
okay.
our new job postings just went out this week. So
Noticed
we
that. I
put
was wanting to
out
hear
for
about that.
more production assistants, see who might be able to come join us, and our web manager, to keep going with the tagging and stuff, and posting,
Excellent.
etc. That is my report.
Let me just add that I've got 2 Christmas shows coming in the works. The Handbell Choir is going to do a show at the library. and
Wait a minute.
then-
I think I'm not hearing you guys. One sec.
You all set?
One sec. Output is. Whoa.
Okay.
Okay.
So 2 holiday shows. Next week is the Handbell Choir at the Clap Library. That'll be coming down the pike. And we did the candlelight tour at the Stone House last week, and I'm working on editing that now, so that'll be up for the holidays also.
Good.
That's
I
it.
just realized, yeah, I didn't have my speaker's not working, so maybe you guys tried to respond and I didn't hear you.
A lot of praise, a lot of saying that, that's awesome, great to hear
Yeah.
on all of the subjects.
Good.
Yeah.
How would I go
yeah.
about starting to bring for the select board? See if you guys would pass a resolution. Should I write a letter first?
Talk to John.
Yeah, we can talk, we'll talk offline.
Okay.
So you can call me tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll come
Sounds
visit your office, wherever you're gonna be.
Yeah, I think that that would be amazing if they passed the resolution to charge streaming services.
Well, in theory, that would be, we are, they're getting 4.5% now from the cable side. Even though that's shrinking revenue, would still be there, plus 5% on the streaming side, that would just.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really
5
help.
is like it's.
Well, 5 is the max on the federal, that the FCC allows, so I'm thinking they're using that as their guideline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so is it? I don't know if you have the answer to this, but is it like, do they have a list of streaming services, or is it going to be like all streaming services?
That I don't know.
Because there's like Netflix, Paramount, HBO, all those, but like there are so many more.
Well, is it the streaming service or the provider? For example, I get my internet connection through Spectrum. So is it Spectrum that's?
My understanding is it's like Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the service, not the provider.
Yeah.
So-
The rationale, I always thought going for streaming is like step further out. It makes more sense to go for broadcast, in my opinion, but they also use the right of ways the same way that the internet
I don't think
does.
it can be the streaming services, because I don't want people to know what I'm signing up for and not. To me, that's too much of an intrusion versus, okay, I get Spectrum provides my internet, fine. I mean, for example, okay, I signed up for porn. I'm not gonna give that information out, and I don't want that
Oh,
information.
no. It's not at the personal level. It's not at the personal level.
No.
So it would be like contracting with Netflix on their total number of subscribers in Massachusetts, not individually on what they're already making.
Okay, so it's not
Right.
per household.
No.
Oh, okay.
And then what's gonna happen is the state will collect all that money and then divide it amongst all the community TV stations
Right.
in the state.
So they'll know that like 5 million people, whatever, like 100,000 people in Massachusetts sign up for Netflix.
Got it.
Netflix owes 5% of those subscriptions.
Got it.
So it's for streaming operators that earn over $250,000 annually in the Massachusetts market. So it's the big streamers.
Okay, okay.
That
So
makes
there's
sense.
Over a certain amount of money maybe.
Okay, all right. That's good information.
But that could be a lot, right? That could be a lot of money that comes back in.
They estimated 2 years ago when I went to a conference, it'd be about $250K per station.
Which is a lot.
Which is, you can live on
Grand
that.
total, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can hire people.
It would entirely revitalize.
Everything we do.
Yeah.
Kate can go to work for Esther.
And have her own sub-department.
Yeah.
And still have nothing.
Okay, well, very cool. Yeah, I'm glad you brought all that stuff up. It is awesome to hear that that's more possible than it was last time I talked about it. That's awesome.
Yeah, they did like a test vote to see how many would sign on for it if it did go before them, and they had a larger majority.
Awesome. That would be huge.
We're almost there.
That amount of money, you get enough towns to create their own TV station.
Yeah. Granted, there
Um,
is a piece of legislation at the federal level that is threatening. I don't think it's gonna get a lot of traction, but every now and then at the federal level, they start thinking about deregulating cable again. And there's another one up there that is incorrectly, misleadingly called like the broad access to broadband bill of some kind, and it's not that.
Probably very much the opposite. All right. Well, on that down note,
Kate's report.
any other questions for Esther and her side of things? Okay, we'll keep it moving then. It's 8:30. On to the communication manager update. I have it all here. I guess I'll just read it. It's not that long. I'm, as in Kate, really starting to get into the thick of it for prepping for ADA compliance, and not just the website, but also our social media channels. I have 3 training sessions with 15 people signed up so far for training on social media compliance, ADA and First Amendment. It is budget season. While communications has no budget per se, now is the time to ask about having line items added. Are we good with our constant contact for fiscal year 27? Can we foresee any needs for that time that may need funding? I sent along the form and press release language to Chris and Ed this past week for the community input on the events calendar. I think that's supposed to be input on the events calendar. I've heard from Ed, but not Chris. I do need to submit the press release to Shirley by Monday. She sent that earlier today, so I'll get back to her. The Facebook page surpassed 1 million views for the 2025 calendar year.
Yeah.
Awesome. That is huge. I wanted to send in a letter supporting Esther's capital equipment request and reached out to Abby to get Eric's email, chair for that committee. And Abby was going to check to see if she could share his email with me, waiting on that as of writing this document, 12:33 p.m. Thursday. Regarding survey burnout, Chris and I had a meeting last week to catch up on a few things this topic included. The question at hand was, who is responsible for determining if residents are experiencing survey burnout, and whether or not a new survey could be sent out and created. Chris and I ultimately felt this would be my judgment call. But when I reported that back to Steve, he felt having the select board pick one person from their ranks to have that person make that call. I am unsure if Steve has firmed this plan up with them. Chris and I also chatted about other means of getting resident feedback instead of post-event surveys. We also chatted about how some towns/cities do an in-depth resident satisfaction survey once a year or every 2 years, and how there are companies out there that do exactly this. For the January newsletter, I think we should start asking for submissions sooner than later, as I would expect people to be taking time off, plus out offices will be closing at noon, our offices, I assume, on 12/24 and not reopening till 8 a.m. on Monday, 12/29.
Oh,
So there's a lot there. I can attest to the survey burnout. Question came out, like, there's so many committees and so many surveys, and everybody's leaning on surveys to do things. Kate and I had a get together to talk about that. Steve wanted to know my opinion on it. I said, you know, if anybody in town is the person to put their foot down and say, okay, enough's enough on surveys, we need to hit the brakes, should be the communications manager. It just makes sense that they're the one that is observing all of the different channels. You know, they're the ones posting for the town on social media and reviewing all of this. She's involved in many of the surveys. I think it should be up to her to say, like, okay, let's pause on the surveys. I also suggested to her that, like, you know, surveys are not always the best way to get feedback, right? There are other much better ways of collecting data for an event. I use the tree lighting, for example. You know, it's best to have year after year data collections on this, but you can have somebody with a counter saying, you know, how many people actually went into the s'mores area and made s'mores and stood by the fire, right? Like, you can just have a counter. You can go to the people that were selling the arts and crafts inside the church, and you can say, how many sales did you make? You don't have to get the exact dollar amounts, but you can say, how many sales did you make? And then you can get a determination, was it worth it, right? You could ask them for it, and not all the residents. Did you buy something? You'll actually know. You'll have the who bought what, or at least an idea. Same thing with, like, they had that hot cocoa. I don't know if anybody else went. They had the hot cocoa and cider truck. They had like Tom's Coffee, or I think that's the name of it.
Yeah.
And they were handing out free hot cocoa and warm cider.
And it was sponsored, I guess.
Sponsored by Remax.
It was sponsored by Remax.
Yeah.
I gotta say, that was my, like, hands down favorite part of it, because previous years, and I don't mean to knock them, I know that it's a lot of work to get this done. They had cocoa booths at all of them, but it's like super watered down and was just not worth it. Like, even my kids were like, this isn't good. This year, having an actual truck that gave out free cocoa was phenomenal. My wife will come in and complain, though, that it says coffee on the truck and there was no coffee.
You don't need coffee at night.
Right.
And talking about that, it was just to simplify, because there's so many people that try to get the line moving.
Yeah, but you can ask them, how many cups did you give away?
Yeah.
Right? And how many cups of cocoa versus cider did you give away? Right? Because this is the first year they've ever done cider. Those are metrics, right? You don't need to survey anybody. You have your answers. If you had an event that you expect you had 1,000 people there, and you gave away 1,200 cups of cocoa, the cocoa should stay, right? Like, you were successful there. And there's ways of translating that same logic to other events and things in town that you don't need to constantly survey about.
So the thing about the surveys too is they're all inherently flawed, because they're a self-selected survey.
Sure.
They're not a random search. So it'll give you an idea, but to make decisions based on these surveys, yeah, you might think about that, because it could be very easily skewed one way or the other. So,
Yeah.
And I know that I'm burned out from surveys, not from the town, but just from life in general. Every time you do something, you buy something,
Oh, yeah.
what shows up in your email box? Another freaking survey,
How did you enjoy your purchase with?
I mean, honestly, you put 2 buttons at the outside of the annual town meeting. One that says, were you happy? Yes, no. Like, walking out of this room, are you happy right now? Yes or no? And just have people, like, hit the button once as they're walking out. You'll get more data from that than you will from any of the
Especially if you make it
surveys.
a big yes button and a little no.
Yeah. Right, like, that's the kind of stuff that, like, that's out of the box thinking that, like, gives you there at the moment data to track. So yeah, I mean, like, you're a select board member. I think it should go back to Kate personally, but I don't know what everybody else thinks.
I think it should too, okay, John, here, I'm gonna editorialize a little bit. You guys are kind of getting in the weeds on stuff that, in my mind.
We have to trust our committees, and we have to trust our town manager. That's my We have to know that we have the correct people in the right spot, and have trust, and that's what needs to happen.
You should be focusing on stuff like this, in my opinion.
Well, the way the new select board was set up, it was supposed to be more of the 30,000-foot view, looking at what, and
That's what it
planning
is.
for things coming, as opposed to, that's what our town manager's for.
That's what I agree. The town manager, I would back the town manager's decision, that's what I'm saying.
Another idea, we could be doing more to share social media analytics.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe, we can't, put it this way, whatever analytics everybody can put in here, like, if you can do your YouTube stuff, Esther, that'd be really helpful to have too.
Yeah.
And especially, probably now it's the end of the year in review.
yeah, you can break it down by committee.
Yeah, Esther, if you can give year in review on YouTube, Allegra year in review on newsletter, that way you can go into the annual report you put.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the town meeting report, we could have all this stuff in there to show.
What we're doing, yeah. The budget one, we should put some thought into that, if we think that there's anything, anybody has any ideas for budget items we might need, or that Kate might need, aside from more hours for her to be paid for. Please, I would say, email Kate about that. Allegra, I think we should take into consideration constant contact. We both had the discussions a little wonky at times, but it's working, right? So, if we want to upgrade to something bigger, would that go into the communications budget now instead of where I forget actually where it's being charged. I think they hit petty cash or something because it wasn't too much.
I think that's where it came out of this year.
Yeah, but it would probably get filed now under an actual department going forward, so.
So one of the questions
Put it under Esther.
one of the questions I have is that the town came up with this volunteer in lieu of taxes. And I know that Kate was using some of that. How did that work out for her?
I can't speak that way. 2 people signed up this year. One person worked in the fire department. I think one person worked. It worked out good. We wish we could get the word out and get more people volunteering, but I think the first year doing it, 2 people, and they already fulfilled their duty.
Okay.
Within a short period of time. That's a really good, they're still open, so people could still apply, but
There's something like 10 of them.
you just said, okay, 2 of them already completed all their tasks within less than 6 months, which is crazy if you think about it. That's good.
Is there a window or is it on a rolling basis?
It's on a 1-year taxation rolling basis, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So they'll have to wait a year before those people can reapply again, but it's a work in progress, so. So more people do it, we could potentially.
The more the word gets out.
Yeah, we can do more, but we had to start somewhere, so we capped it at 10. But if there's a line of people, we would probably broaden it more, depending on the tax burden, we'd have to look at that too. But yes, all good things happened from it. It was positive.
Okay.
I know the fire chief liked it a lot. I'm not speaking for Kate, I haven't talked to her, but I'm sure she probably, the help that she got was positive. I heard all good things about it.
Good.
Okay, yeah, that's her major update. And Allegra, I already sent you Kate's remarks, so you have them on record. Did additional items for discussion? Deliberate next meeting time. Excellent, we're at the end, folks.
Are we 1 and 3 or are we 2 and 4?
We are 2 and 4. I don't have.
So that would be January 9th.
Yeah, because the next meeting will be Christmas Day, so.
Right, we probably don't want to do that.
No, I thought we had already decided we were gonna not meet.
Right.
Yeah, so I think, sorry, everybody, I'm just getting my phone.
Looking at your calendar, your personal calendar.
Right, yeah, so obviously, yeah, Christmas Day, we're not want to do that. I don't think there's enough time to meet next week. So let's just push it to January 8th.
The 9th is, or Thursday, the 8th. Yeah.
Thursday the 8th, right? That gets us past Christmas and New Year's. Are there any other holidays or anything that we can't, that we should consider and whatnot?
Then show up on my
Okay.
phone.
Everybody good with that?
6:30, everybody, 6:30. Okay.
Yeah,
6:30 on the 8th?
6:30 here on the 8th,
All right.
1/8. 26, 1/8/26, 6:30. Okay, cool,
No
excellent.
matter what the paper says.
No, it has to be what the paper says.
Has to be what the
But
paper
Ed, but Ed's not gonna be doing it next time.
Okay.
And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second,
Roll call. Starting with Lou.
yes.
You gotta please state your name
Oh, Lou says yes.
Mark says yes.
Ed says yes.
online.
Allegra says yes.
Chris Martin, Chair, yes. Thank you, everybody. It is 8:35 PM.
Ooh, early.
Have a great night.
We got done early.
Bye.